Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We've got another great one. We're swinging down into the big state of Texas. We've got trick rider Lindsay Byers on the call this week. Lindsay, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
Well, it's always a pleasure, and we really appreciate you taking your time. I know you're busy out there and have a busy schedule, so we were kind of going back and forth, I believe, a week or so ago through Facebook, and you had mentioned how the Equinety product has really helped two of your horses. Yeah. So you've got a retired horse, and then you've got your performance horse. Let's start with your retired one. Give us some background on this horse, what was going on, and what you were not hoping to be faced with earlier this year in February. But let's talk about this horse.
So you're probably going to have to pronounce it for me because I can't pronounce what she has.
We'll do it shorthand. DSLD. How about that?
There we go. That works.
For anyone who has DSLD issues, listen to this one.
Yes, for sure. So that's what she had. She was diagnosed with that, I believe, back in the end of 2015, because that's when I had to retire her. That was a really tough one because I actually just started trick riding on her when I had to retire her, and that was pretty tough. And just hearing from the vet, there's no cure, all that stuff. And basically since then, all my vet could really do for me is tell me to keep her on bute and just kind of wait till it takes its toll. We have to make that decision. Mm-hmm. And back in February of this year, right before we got that huge storm here in Texas where everything shut down, it got so bad where she was laying, and she doesn't go out in the mud or anything like that. I keep her up where she's up and dry, and I give her this big bale of hay where we make her a bed for her to lay down. But back then, she wouldn't even get up to eat. So I would bring her food and water, and there's no way for me to contact my vet because everything in Texas was shut down. And that's when I put her on Equinety. Was then, and just I kind of get emotional now because I thought I was going to lose her. So I'm just so glad that we still have her now, and it's crazy. But we put her on that in February and kind of won everything. I did do a scoop in the AM and the PM because she was just in such bad shape. That's how I started her out. And she, once everything started to defrost here, she started just actually getting up to eat. When I'd come in the barn, she's like, "Oh, hey, you're here. You should actually get up to eat instead of me giving her food and stuff."
You're
and
what in the world is going on?
Yeah. It made me so excited because I'm I really thought we're gonna have to call a vet at the end of all this and say "Hey, can you come out here?"
Right.
And so that just made me so excited. She actually has a pig that she lives with, and throughout that whole storm, her and her pig would cuddle in the hay together. It was kind of adorable.
Oh my gosh! You got to send a picture.
I will for sure because it's pretty cute.
Oh man! Wow. Now, how did you first learn about the Equinety product? And we're talking specifically about Equinety Horse XL.
Yeah. So I was trying to remember exactly how I found out. I think I found out of it because we had a horse here, and for the life of me, I can't remember if I put it on her, have her use it or not. She was only here for 2 months, but she was an HYPP mare. And I was trying to find something for her that had no fillers or anything like that. And I loved Equinety because it didn't have fillers. But like I said, she was only here for a month and a half probably, just at our barn. So she kind of came and left pretty quick. But I just kept that product on my mind. And so that's really what stuck out for me. And then I also started taking human isoaminos and stuff like that, and just realized how much it helped me after I'd work out and stuff and stretch. I'm man, the horses would really benefit from something like this.
Right.
If it helps me this much. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I found out about it.
Yeah, that's great. So as the things started or began to unthaw and then she's getting up, How was her progress now over the next month to 2 months and up to now through this year?
Yeah. So, kind of incredible because I kept doing just daily therapy on her, like hydrotherapy, and then just all kinds of therapy I can do with her. Like I could only do therapy for a little bit, and then she'd lay back down again, which is fine. And then it got to where like she really didn't need any extra therapy. She would want to get up. She would be wanting to get out and graze and like wait for the gate, like, hey, can you let me out? Like,
Wow.
and I'm like, of course. And then also she got some of her sass back, which she was always kind of a sassy little mare. Like, she's been in my life since I was 13, so we were both kind of, sassy back then to begin with.
Yeah. Yes.
But just to see her get some of her life back and her, like, little sassy attitude just, like, made me so happy to see that.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where, like, I no longer had to give her any butte.
Oh, wow.
Which, for her to be on it for so long and then to realize, like, because I didn't like her to have to be on it every day, because I didn't want, but it's kind of a quality of life, like,
Sure.
I want her to feel good. Yeah. But to like not have to feed it for her and still see her getting up, walking around, being happy, her. And then also I realized over time, just like not only the swelling went down in her back legs, but like it's almost like it was healing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
like her fetlock wasn't like, it would either like touch the ground or almost touch the ground every time she walked.
Wow.
And like now it's like lifted up higher, which to me that blows my mind
Yes.
to see that. Like I can't explain it,
Wow.
but it makes me so happy because I'm not ready to lose her anytime soon. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and I really didn't realize like everything over time when you see your horse every day, you may not notice everything
That's
as
right.
someone else would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I ran out of the product. Oh, it was right when I messaged you, like reached out to you, because it really like showed me how much it helped her. So I ran out of it, and I think for 3 to 5 days she didn't have it, and then she just kind of started like backpedaling,
Right.
and that's when I realized just how much Equinety XL gave her. And that's kind of when I reached out to you, and then my husband and I talked. We're like, okay, at this point, we're going to put all of our horses on Equinety XL.
Yeah. Now
So
that's pretty remarkable. And for those who are tuning in, this story is phenomenal. And anybody that knows anything about DSLD, I mean, eventually Mother Nature is going to take its course on that deal. And we've had quite a few customers give us some really positive feedback with the Equinety Horse XL helping with the DSLD. But, it's a matter of time on that. But it can definitely help, just like it has with yours. So what specifically this product is, and the thing that makes it so interesting is it doesn't fit into a specific supplement category. In other words, it's not a quote hoof supplement or joint supplement or, shiny coat supplement or muscle building supplement. What it is, it's 100% pure amino acids, and there's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. A serving size is 5.2 grams, which is about like a teaspoon, regardless of the size of the horse. And the reason is we're not dosing on the size of the horse. We're dosing on the size of the pituitary gland, which is roughly the same size in horses. And so what these amino acids are specifically doing is stimulating the pituitary gland, which releases repairing hormones. And when that can happen, the horse's body is able to send its own hormones to its own problem areas. And so this is why it helps in so many ways. And another way to think about it is it's customizing to each horse. Now, you had mentioned that you're giving a scoop in the morning and a scoop in the evening. There are some people that just give 1 scoop a day. So here's the big difference in 1 scoop versus 2 scoops. Let's say, for example, you give a scoop in the morning in their feed. The product absorbs very, very quickly and goes right to work. Hormones are released very quickly out of the pituitary. Now, those hormones have a 23.5-hour life cycle. And so if you gave a scoop in the morning, by the time you give a scoop the following morning, the hormone levels are back to where they would normally be for that age of a horse. And that's perfectly fine. It works, very, very well just doing that. And with that being said, with a horse that's injured or one that's coming back from a recovery or surgery, or for the working performance horse, if you give a scoop in the morning and a scoop in the evening, what you're doing there is not allowing those hormone levels to get back to ground zero. You're keeping them elevated, which just helps promote faster repair. So that's a big difference in 1 scoop versus 2 scoops. And the great thing about it is you can play around with that. I mean, you can try 1 scoop, see how that works. You can try 2 scoops. There's not any negative side effects with any medications or feeds or other supplements. It's great, and it's easy, just bam, put the scoop in there and you're done. So, yeah. But, that is really awesome. So you've got your horse back after almost having to make a not so happy decision earlier this year. And it sounds like
I'm so thankful.
Yeah. It sounds like she's not slowing down anytime soon.
No, which is great.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So now we were just talking about a retired horse. Now let's go over to your performance trick riding horse and give us some background on this one and why you decided to put Equinety Horse XL on this horse.
Okay. This is Alamo. I call him Kiddo. He's a pretty special kiddo. He came from Mexico and then worked his way to Colorado and was a pack horse. And somehow he came back down to Texas, and that's how I bought him. You can kind of tell he had a pretty rough go at it. Like, you can tell he's probably boat attendant. Like, he has some pretty gnarly scars in some places and stuff like that. I put him on Equinety, I want to say, in the summer of 2019, because I bought him in April of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a pretty small little dude. Like, he's 14'3". And for what we do, like, hanging off the side of him, like, when I first got him, like, some people said, like, he probably won't be able to carry you in strap tricks.
Yeah.
But, like, something in my gut was like, no, he's going to carry me. Like, something just told me in my gut, like, no, this is my guy. He's going to do great.
Yeah, well, one way to find out, you're either going to do that or eat dirt, I guess.
Exactly. And I have eaten a lot of dirt, but more because of not him, but because of me.
Yeah.
So it's basically on my food chain now. Is the dirt
right,
there somewhere.
yes. Yeah. A lot of good minerals in there.
Yeah. Think of all the positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for him, like, I realized too, like, when we would, I would go to clinics and would work for like 2 or 3 days straight, and he could recover faster when he was on Equinety and stuff like that. But also noticed, like, he started to be able to, like, his muscle came, I don't want to say faster, but like he started, because he used to switch leads a lot. Like, when I would try to go into a strap trick, he would start his left lead and switch to his right, just trying to figure out how to carry me. And but once I got his feed right for him, and then also put him on Equinety, like, he started holding on to that left lead, like, all the way around the arena, which is super exciting. And he's honestly, like, carrying me in, like, my full fender and stuff like that, which I honestly wasn't sure if we'd be able to do.
Right.
and he carries me great, and he runs hard, but he also, like, keeps me safe and everything. So I just want to do the best for him, and probably the best thing I've done is put him on Equinety.
Sure. Now, you had also mentioned to me with this particular one, you had noticed some popping in the shoulder, but when you have him on product, that popping isn't there. Yeah.
So he'd have, like, popping inside of his shoulder, and it kind of felt like it's deep in his shoulder. But he gets regular checkups and regular, like, chiropractor done and therapy done, massage. I mean, everything I can do, I'm going to do for this horse, because I trust him literally with my life.
Yeah, right.
So I wanted to do the best I can, and, like, none of that would do anything to help that. But once I put him on Equinety, it went away. And if by chance, like, he went off the product for 3 to 5 days, the popping started coming back. Which I'm like, okay, we're just going to keep this on you forever.
Yeah. Now, what's really interesting, because in both of the horses, you put them on product, they're doing exceptionally well. And we've had people do this on purpose, where they're thinking, well, maybe they don't need the product anymore. In your case, you ran out, or, it just didn't get to you in time. So, and that happens more times than not, where the horse will, start going backwards. And the reason for that, it goes back to the hormone levels. They're not staying elevated, and they kind of just start going back to the way that they were. And that's a lot of times where people will, they realize, oh my gosh, I'm not ever taking my horses off this product. And eventually the whole barn ends up being on product.
Yeah. That's kind of how we are now. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a thing and then always have the extra. So when the first one runs out, I can just use the extra and then buy an extra for that one. So I never run out of it ever again.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you know what? One of the great things too is, it's $99.99. There's 100 servings in there. So it's $1 a day per horse if you're giving 1 scoop a day.
Yeah.
So it's very palatable for, if you look at all the other supplements that people typically give.
It's very doable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, are you giving any other supplements at all, or
they both get just a joint supplement.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I kind of hate to get them off of it, even though like when they both gone off Equinety, that's when I've seen stuff come back.
Right.
So they can go without the joint supplement, and I don't notice anything different.
Right.
So I think that speaks volume.
Yep.
Into that. So
yeah. And I think that, that's one of the big questions we get all the time too. People that might be giving their horses 2, 3, 4, 5, however many supplements. And one of the questions that we get often is, should I stop giving these other supplements and just give the Equinety Horse XL? Mm-hmm. And our response to that is don't change anything you're doing as far as, feed, supplements, or anything. Just add this to it because there's not any negative side effects. And mm-hmm. then over the next couple days to couple weeks, and more often than not, within 30 days, people can notice the changes that are happening. And then if there's some of these supplements that you might be giving that you're thinking, well, I don't think it was really doing that much anyways, you could either reduce or stop giving other things. And typically people are saving, 20 to 40% just in supplements, just by giving the Horse XL. Is that kind of what you found?
Yeah, for sure. I'm no longer buying 10 different things and feeling like I'm, overprotective horse owner.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, from our standpoint, it wouldn't be fair for us to say, oh, take them off everything and just use this. Cause one, I don't know your horses like you do. And so that's why we recommend don't change a thing, just add this. That way you're only changing one element. Right. And then over the next couple weeks to 30 days, you can make that decision. So, well, that is really awesome. And then what is Alamo's demeanor these days? How does he looking at compared to just a couple years ago prior to, like when you acquired him?
Yeah. So he's just great. I don't know. I really just appreciate him so much for everything he's done, but he loves his job. He stays relatively calm and everything like that. He's kind of stranger danger when it comes to people, which he's always been like that. But that's pretty much the only thing. He loves to do his job. He's a very interesting horse because has lots of quirks, and one of his quirks is he doesn't want to go on a trail ride. He doesn't want to do anything else. He just wants to do his job. So, but I'm like, you're a trick riding horse. If you want to do your job, that's great.
Yeah, it's why should I waste all my energy on a trail when I can do?
I kind of feel like he thinks like that. He's like, why am I doing this when I can just run and stop?
Oh gosh, that is so funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so going to your talking a little bit about your trick riding, maybe share with everybody what it was like when you attempted some of your first tricks, because I know that's got to be a little bit adrenaline rush when you're hanging upside down and standing on top and doing things. So what was that like as you were learning, and even still today?
So it's interesting. I wasn't raised around horses. I always just loved them. My parents were pretty good about letting me collect all these animals. But when it came to horses, I bought the horse, I spent the money to take care of the horse, I did everything right. And in high school is when I saw someone trick riding for the first time, just a picture on my computer, and I saved it as my back screen.
Uh-huh.
And my mom wasn't okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and my sister's the adrenaline junkie, and I've never been that kind of person, but something about that just spoke to my soul, honestly.
Yeah.
And once I got engaged and my mom couldn't tell me no anymore.
Yeah, that's funny.
I scheduled my first trick riding lesson, and I really thought it'd be something I did once and I probably won't ever do again. But man, the first time, I stood on top, I have a picture, I see it every single time I go up and down my stairs. And it's the first time doing the hippodrome, and I had my hands in the air, and I remember that moment exactly. It was just that's where I belonged. And that's kind of how trick riding is for me. I've dream about it in my dreams. Like, I think about it every day, and there's been some tough times where I've had to step back for injury or something like that, and I just can't. I probably will do it until I can't walk or something like that.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
awesome.
there's definitely some things where like I have to work through, like the mental block, or like coming back from injury, like my roan mare, like back in 2018, we had an accident where she went through a fence and fell on top of me.
Oh.
And so there's been like some mental blocks of like coming back from injury,
Right. Yeah.
and stuff like that. And that's why Alamo is so special to me, because he really was that horse that helped me get back into it and like trusting him.
Yep. That's
So,
great.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, well, that is really, really awesome. So maybe a big inspiration for some other young ladies out there that would like to get into trick riding.
Yeah, it saved my life, honestly. So I support it, love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I tell you, if there's anybody else that's tuning in to the podcast and they've heard these stories and they're thinking, well, boy, that sounds interesting, but I'm not too sure. It sounds too good to be true. Sounds like a miracle supplement. What would you have to say to them to maybe get them off the fence to give it a try?
Oh, man. Don't wait like I did. I wish I put my older retired mare on it sooner before she almost had to make that decision. That's the one thing, like, I wish I did. Like, don't wait, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, we've had more than I can even count on hands and feet where, some pretty dire situations where people were, looking at, even had their vet scheduled to come out, and then he came across the product and said, hey, do you think this would work? I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, we're within days here. But, more times than not, it's not going to help every single time. I tell people it's not a miracle supplement, but it sure does some miraculous things. And, if you're ever in a situation where you've tried lots of other things and nothing seems to work, or if you're just starting out on your search, just give this a try. And the odds of it working are very, 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 very high. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because now we're like, putting all of our horses on it, and that speaks a lot too, when even my husband's like, yeah, we're putting everybody on this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time. Lindsay Byers out of Texas, thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories here on the Equinety Podcast.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for Equinety.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horses' supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.